Now, I've called this a by-election roundup video because that's what we do every Friday or Saturday. But if you watched last week's, you know there's only one, the top one on the screen here. We're not even looking at the second one today. So just wanted to get through. So really, this video is going to mostly be about the looking ahead to the Gorton and Denton by-election happening in February. But we'll very quickly go through this by-election results that we've got on the screen here. Thank you for tuning in today. Do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So Bearsden South, East Dunbartonshire. To quickly wrap this one up, there's not too much to say, honestly. It was a Conservative defence. But if you remember, we looked last week and the voting from previously had been very, very close. Lib Dems on 23.1, the SNP on 23.4, and the Conservatives on 23.2. So all of them within 0.5% of each other. Obviously, single transferable votes up in Scotland for councils. The Liberal Democrats, the SNP just about won the vote share last time on first preference, and then obviously the Conservatives picked up a seat later on in as the rounds went through on the single transferable vote. Liberal Democrats have won this time around. Now, it's not really a gain off the Conservatives because the Conservatives didn't win the first preference vote share and all that last time. They have beaten the SNP though. I do think I said on the last video when we looked ahead to this one that Dunbartonshire, I think, is a pretty good area for the Liberal Democrats, so I'm not surprised to see them do well. But they increased by 15 points, very healthy, and the SNP were down 6 to 17%. So yeah, very healthy first preference victory for the Liberal Democrats. I think they won on the 5th round in the end, as the single transferable vote system went through. Look, Conservatives, pretty disastrous result for them, down 17 again. As I keep saying, no sign. I mean, I appreciate this is in Scotland, where it's a little bit different to England, but no sign of this Conservative comeback whatsoever. And I think the other thing to take away from this is, once again, Reform finish ahead of Labour in Scotland. 15% for Reform, 14% for Labour. So only by a slender margin, but Reform do finish a point ahead of Labour. So that's something we're seeing consistently. And I saw a poll yesterday come out for Holyrood showing that Reform are on course to beat Labour by 8 seats in May. So it's going to be tragic for Labour up in Scotland, and Reform has kind of come out of nowhere really in Scotland to be the second party, it seems, is where it's going. We'll have to wait and see. A good turnout, 43% almost up here in Bearsden South, East Dunbartonshire. It's a Liberal Democrat gain. Really, they've beaten the SNP, who won the vote share very marginally last time. But the Conservatives are down a seat. They lost a big chunk of their vote as well. Liberal Democrats get the seat in Bearsden South. And that's all we've got to say. That is the by-election roundup for the week, I'm afraid. We will very quickly go and have a look at what's coming up next week, and then we'll have a talk about this Gorton and Denton by-election. And next week's a quiet one as well, actually. Only 2 next week. We've got Clevedon South in North Somerset, which is an interesting one because last time there was only the 2 parties standing, a straight shootout between the Conservatives and Labour, which Labour won just. They got 54.4% of the vote compared to the Conservatives' 45.6% of the vote. So I'd expect to see pretty large vote share declines for both of those, largely because there's going to be more, obviously, than 2 parties standing this time. The Greens are coming in, the Liberal Democrats are coming in, and Reform are coming in as well. Somerset, look, it tends to be an area that the Liberal Democrats do well in these days. Let's see how the Conservative vote holds up. I expect to see Labour have a pretty poor result here, in all honesty. Somerset is also an area where the Greens have done quite well, so this could be a potential for them as well. If you're from the area, do let us know. It's kind of difficult to make a prediction when you've only got 2 parties who previously stood. Reform will do, you know, they'll put up a number, but I don't think they'll necessarily win here, unless you do live in the area or you know the area better than me. Let me know. But I would back Liberal Democrats or Greens probably actually for this one. Conservatives potentially, like I say, if that Conservative comeback is on the cards, if it's brewing, then this is the sort of place they might start winning. And the other one is, apologies for pronunciation, I'm going to go with Innisgibby in Innismon. I'm almost certain that's wrong pronunciation, so I do apologise. Plaid Cymru defending here, and they had a very, very slender win last time, 28.6% of the vote. And actually you can see all 4 parties got pretty much a quarter of the vote, there or thereabouts, between a quarter and a fifth. So this was also very evenly split. And again, more people standing this time. The Greens are coming in and Reform are coming in. So there's going to be an extra 2 people on the ballot paper. This will be interesting to see. Look, Plaid are doing very, very well in the western areas of Wales, in sort of their heartland areas. They, according to the Nowcast at least, look like they're going to do very, very well there in the Senedd elections in May. Let's see, will they increase on this sort of 28% of the vote and get a more convincing victory with more people on the ballot paper? Or are they going to get squeezed out? This would be a very, very interesting one to look at. Let me know what you think. I would back Plaid to win. I think their vote share probably increase, would be my guess. And Labour will probably see their vote share collapse. It'll be interesting to see what the Greens do, although the Greens don't tend to really have much of a presence outside of Cardiff in Wales, as far as I can tell. And let's see how Reform do. I wonder if it's going to be Plaid first, Reform second. That seems to be the dynamic that's appearing in Wales. We said about in Scotland, Reform are kind of taking up that second party spot. I think in Wales, it's much more a battle for first pot between Plaid and Reform. But I do think this is an applied heartland, so we'll wait and see. I would back Plaid on that one. And that's next week. It's only 2 next week as well. It's going to be another short video. If a load more news comes out about Gorton and Denton between now and then, maybe we'll do another quick roundup on that news as well to fill in some time. Let me know if that would be something you're interested in the comments. And now we will get on to look at this Gorton and Denton by-election. Here it is then. This is the Gorton and Denton constituency. It was actually created for the last general election, so this is a new constituency. Labour won it with Andrew Gwynn, obviously the now resigned MP. He got 50.8% of the vote. Let's call it 51% of the vote. Now, that's impressive, but that was down 16 points on previous. Obviously, I don't necessarily know how they do the percentage changes when it's a new constituency, but from the constituencies that it was made out of, that was the aggregate vote share loss for Labour. And you can see no one else was really close. Reform did come in second place in 14%. The Greens very, very close behind on 13%. And then the Workers' Party of Britain is the other down there on 10.3%. So no one was close. It was a big majority of 13,400 for Labour. And look, my working theory going into this is that is going to evaporate. I don't think Labour will hold on to this seat. And we'll have a look at some predictions and projections a little bit later on. But let's now have a bit of a look at this constituency. So demographics-wise, to start with, this is important, I think, and we'll see why in a minute. There is a large Muslim population in Gorton and Denton, 29.6% in the 2021 census. And as you can see, that went up by 10 percentage points between 2011 and 2021. So it's not unreasonable to assume that that number may well be more than 30% now, seeing as that census is now 5 years ago. So a reasonable, large, sizable, whatever you want to call it, Muslim population in Gorton and Denton. And that is important because there is this group called the Muslim Vote, which essentially pertains to stand for or represent Muslims in the UK and essentially persuade them who to vote for. Now, they've backed the Green Party, as you can see there in the second paragraph. You can scroll down there and you can feel free to have a read of that if you like. Feel free to pause the video and read the statement if you want to. I'm not going to read it all out now. But they have backed the Green Party, and that's significant because that spells disaster for Labour, you would imagine, in this constituency, amongst their other issues they're facing. But also the Greens are going all in on this. They've got this Muslim backing, and they're going all in on the Gaza narrative. So, forget about Gorton and Denton, it's all about Gaza, and that's what they're going to push. So they're going all in on this strategy. It'll be interesting to see if the Muslim vote, not the group, but the Muslim voters, the electorate, if they do essentially do what they're told. We'll see. And we do know from past voting patterns, they do tend to vote as a block. But if that Muslim vote does move as one unit for the most part and swing behind the Greens, I think that's a huge boost to their what's going to be their vote share. And, bear in mind, they were only 1% behind Reform in that 2024 general election. So that's a boost for the Greens in terms of the demographics. But on this topic, I imagined, therefore, that the Greens were going to put up a Muslim candidate to try and, fully go all in on this. But they haven't actually. They've picked this lady, Hannah Spencer. I don't know much about her. I hear she's allegedly a plumber or maybe a gas engineer, something like that. So it's an interesting candidate choice. Like I said, I thought they might go for an Islamic person, a Muslim person, given what we just spoken about there. So let's see how this selection for candidate plays for them. She actually beat 2 Muslim competitors in the vote to be selected. She won a convincing victory. So, we'll wait and see. Hannah Spencer, therefore, is the Green Party's candidate for Gorton and Denton, and let's see how that plays. So who else? Well, we know Reform, they were the first out the blocks. They've nominated or put forward Matt Goodwin. I'm sure you all know him, but for those who are not initiated, former professor of politics at the University of Kent. He's done other academic bits and pieces as well. He's written a couple of books. Of course, in the last few years, he's had a Substack that a lot of people read. He's had a YouTube channel and been a regular on GB News, now standing for Reform in Gorton and Denton. This one kind of surprised me as well because I thought they might go for a Mancunian, a local. Now, he did make... He was at pains to make the point during his unveiling speech that his family is from the Greater Manchester area, his grandparents, I think he said, and he went to university in Greater Manchester as well, but he's not a Mancunian. He was, I think, from Hertfordshire. So, again, let's see how this one plays. But look, they were first out the gate with the candidate selection. They've been campaigning there in Gorton and Denton all this week, pretty much. So, a quick start from Reform, and the pollsters seem to be backing them, which we'll get on to in a minute. There's already been controversy. Labour were quite quick with the smear campaign on Matt Goodwin. They put out a video of him apparently disparaging Manchester. He was actually disparaging the Tory conference in Manchester. So Reform actually did report Labour to the police over this. They were claiming it was a breach of the Representation of the People Act. I think it's 1982. But the Greater Manchester Police have since said they're not going to investigate it. But that's already been a little bit a point of contention in this race for this by-election. Of course, it'd be remiss not to mention the psychodrama that happened in the Labour Party. Andy Burnham, obviously, is the mayor of Greater Manchester. By all accounts, seems to be quite popular with the locals up there. He was blocked by Labour from standing because he is seen as a threat to Keir Starmer's leadership, but he can't be a threat all the while he's not an MP. You have to be an MP in order to be leader of the Labour Party. So all the while he's out of the House of Commons, he cannot challenge Keir Starmer's leadership. And many see that as the reason. I think it's pretty obvious that's the reason why he was blocked from standing as a candidate. They only one person on the Labour's committee, NEC committee, Lucy Powell, the deputy leader of the Labour Party, she voted in favour. The rest all said no. And they mostly are Starmer loyalists, as far as I understand. So he's not standing. That's led to basically a civil war in Labour. So they're kind of tearing themselves apart over this as well. And look, I think it's been to their own demise, really. I mean, this Telegraph article, obviously, I assume it's been selectively, the people they've quoted are selectively chosen, but it does seem there's a number of people that would have voted for Burnham. Now he's not standing. They're just not going to bother with Labour and they're going to go to Reform. So might be a benefit to Reform in sort of the same way as that Muslim vote for the Greens is. And that's why I think this seat is going to be a battle between Reform and the Green Party. I don't think Labour are going to hold on to it. And I think there's a good chance that Labour finish in third place, but we'll wait and see on that one. Okay, just to wrap up then, let's look at some polling and predictions for how this is going to go. So this Find Out Now poll for Gorton and Denton by-election has Reform in the lead, just with 36%. Up 22 points on that 2024 score. Labour down 18 to 33%. The Greens on 21%. I think the Greens will do better than this. I think they'll do a lot better than 21%. I think, like I said, I think it's going to be a battle between Reform and Green. I think maybe Reform's increase is slightly overcooked here. The Greens undercooked. I think Labour's fall off is undercooked as well. So I think no, that's just my. I've got no backing for that. That's just my feeling. Obviously, this is the Find Out Now poll. But so that's what Find Out Now say. Reform in the lead by about 3 points at the moment. So they say advantage Reform. Coming across here to electoral calculus, and they have it as Reform as well. They've got a 61% chance that Reform win this seat. They say they would get 32% of the votes, with the Greens on 23% and Labour on 22%. Again, I think the Greens do better than this. I think that's probably not far off what Labour will get. I reckon they'll get about a quarter of the vote, but I think the Greens will get more than this. I see them being close to 30%, in my opinion. We'll have to wait and see. The Workers' Party of Britain is the other factor into this. I should have mentioned that they're not standing. We don't know who they're standing yet, actually. If it's George Galloway. That's interesting. He said he was definitely going to stand if Burnham was selected. Obviously, that's not happened, so I don't know if he will now. But it depends how all in the Workers' Party of Britain go. And, I could see that swaying quite a bit the Muslim vote, because he slash the Workers' Party of Britain are very popular with the Muslim voters, generally speaking. So again, electoral calculus has Reform as the likely winner. It would be remiss of us, of course, not to look at our favourite, the nowcast from Election Maps. And that has Labour winning just, and this is their nowcast for the general election. This I see as the least likely result. I don't see Labour winning. Although, if they have I can see them winning. I can see them getting about 30% of the vote. In all fairness, I do think they'll be close to a quarter. But I just don't see them winning. I don't see them hanging on here. If they do, it will be a coup for Starmer, and Starmer really needs this because he's blocked Burnham. If they lose after he's blocked what everybody sees as being essentially the most popular candidate they could have put up, he's in big trouble. I mean, he's in big trouble anyway. It is at this stage a matter of time, isn't it, for Starmer? It's very much if not when, not if. But this would be pretty bad for them. Do you know what I think? Depending on what happens in this result, if it's a really bad loss for Labour, if that's the final nail in the coffin for Starmer, and then they get a replacement in before May, it'd be interesting to see if a replacement to Starmer could improve Labour's fortunes come May for the local elections or the elections in general. That'd be an interesting thing to see. But Election Maps nowcast is still backing Labour, just only 3 points in it. But again, I see it as being a race between Reform and Greens, to be honest with you, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see the Labour Party finish in third place. Last but certainly not least, we'll have a quick look at what the betting markets are currently saying. And this is very interesting because I think quite often follow the money on politics. Opinion polls are one thing, but the betting markets tend to get it right a lot of the time. And I'm sorry that the colours don't match up. I'm on Betfair Exchange. But the purple colour at the top here is Reform, the orange colour is the Greens, and the dark blue down the bottom is Labour. And so you can see, look, this is going to be dead close, and this is what I mean. I think it's a two-horse race between these two. Currently, they've got the implied chance, based off the bets that are being laid at the moment, Reform with an implied chance of just under 40%, and the Greens have 42% chance of winning. Labour right the way down on 18%. So this is what I mean. I don't think Labour are going to win here. I think they're going to lose this seat, and I do think it's going to be Reform versus the Greens. And at the moment, the betting markets are backing the Green Party, so a bit of work to do for Reform to get out ahead. Now, look, they're not definitely right. I remember the betting markets had Reform winning Caerphilly at polls close, and it changed as the counting went along. So, and this will change. Obviously, we've got 4 weeks to go until the election happens, so things will change between now and then. But interesting to see what the betting markets are saying versus the political opinion polling. So there you go. That's the lowdown on Gorton and Denton as it stands. Like I say, if we have more sort of significant news happen between now and next week, or polling, or this changes a lot, then maybe we'll have a quick look after our 2 by-election roundups next week. So thank you everybody for watching. Please do leave a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. Hit subscribe if you haven't already as well, of course, and I will see you all on the next one.